The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. This is Chip.
And I'm CJ, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. First show of the new year.
20-01.
20-01, and we're ready to rock and roll. And what a show we got today. Tax bills are out, but let's hit this quick hit on Macy, Sousa, out as Correa to Coogan transition churns away. So Joe Macy's gone, and in his words, with no regrets and no recriminations. It's his call, and the other one is gone, and Mayor-elect Coogan said she did a good job, but we're going in a different direction, which is business speak for beat it, we don't want you. So.
Well, the interesting thing is that, you know, according to many sources, and from what I remember, Paul Coogan said that all positions that were open, he would have interviews for. He would have them posted, and he would have interviews for. The only posting for a city position so far is city administrator that we've seen. I mean, there's some for mechanics and, you know, election poll workers and stuff like that. Do you know poll workers are only making minimum wage? Honest to God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you know, and now they're going to get new. We don't know. He refuses to answer who the new corporate counsel is going to be. Although we have our rumors.
Yeah, we have Class A rumors on that.
Right.
One.
And
we'll write it in an envelope and open it up on the next show.
And we've fought against Monica's position for I don't know how many since Rob Bentleweski had it under Sutter when Sutter created that position.
And that's a very good observation, because we will be segueing into what we're going to spend most of the show on, about taxes and bloat in government and the people that are outraged now by their tax bill. And you're right, this is another position. Monica's out. Will he fill that position?
He has.
And he has. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if he actually.
Rumor is that he has, and rumor is that it's somebody politically connected as well.
He's maintaining the bloat.
Right.
And we'll get to that a little later. But so already he's off on the. He's not starting to march with the left foot. He's starting with the right. So, and that doesn't mean it's right because you start with the right. Right is wrong when you march. So the other little bit of news we have here is I guess a copy of something that acting Mayor Cliff Ponte / City Council President sent, I am hereby ordering a full investigation to be
conducted with respect to the water main break.
24, and he recommends, I was speaking with City Councilor Sean Kadeem, and he pointed out many aspects that I and most people overlook. Oh yeah, Sean, the oracle at the council. It's clear that the trench work was completed and blah blah blah, and we'll see. But
hire and retain an outside engineering firm.
Well, I always like to see outside people, but the outside people they hire are normally connected with somebody.
Well, here's an interesting statement. I would suggest GPI. Greenman Peterson Incorporated to complete this work. Note, I have no affiliation or know anyone there, so someone will need to reach out as soon as possible.
How would that name like appear? Must have had a vision of GPI, because I've never,
I've never heard of them.
I don't expect to know anybody. I don't really know engineering firms that do this kind of work off the top of my head. I don't deal with them, never did deal with them, so I know no companies. I would have to go in and research. But again, let's see if this investigation bears as much fruit as the 22 window investigation. So now we get to the real business at hand.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
The tax bills are out. Taxpayer. Yeah. Oh, and they said it was all over. The talk shows. Actually, Will Flanagan, one of the people who infused fat cells into our budget, is actually calling for, let's cut some of these positions. Let's get back to a lean government. The taxpayers are being murdered. We have people with $300 increases or in excess of $300 per quarter. Isn't that ironic that Kathy was paying like less than 50% of what she should have? And now people's taxes are going up like almost as much as she was paying for taxes on her house? Actually more than she was paying on her house. So, for some people, it's outrageous. You know, hopefully, that ire that was being vented on, and I didn't listen to it, but I got a lot of reports, on Will Flanagan's show, so much so that a mayor who was responsible for beginning some of these fat cell jobs is calling for, let's get rid of it. Let's hope that the people maintain this anger, because you're going to get your tax bills every quarter. Let's hope they maintain it till the next election. Do what you say. I'm using this opportunity to again remind everybody that CAG, the Citizens Alliance for Accountability in Government, will be actively looking for people who want to run for city council, school committee,
And mayor.
and mayor of the city of Fall River, who will represent the taxpayer of this city. It has been well over a decade. All we do is give business people tips and tips and try to reduce their expenses, even though I still have the stats from the other day in my pocket, I think I stuck them in here. Even though that cities with a 175 tax factor for businesses, Fall River has 5,214 businesses according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Newton and Cambridge have 13,744 and 13,156. Do the math. They're more than double. A lot more than double. So it's got nothing to do with your tax rate. It's got to do with their income, because our income is 24,600 versus 69,859 and 54. So the people in Cambridge individually have twice as much money to spend, and the people in Newton have 2.5 times more money to spend. That's what keeps businesses in business. And as I said, we can't become a Newton. That's kind of like where people who work in Boston go to, and Cambridge has got some stuff. But we did see the difference in stores and businesses being active in Fall River when we had mills and people were working. Nobody ever addresses this issue. And that's the real issue. No, what they do is they give Hetzler and the Chamber of Commerce. I want to see somebody get up there during citizens' input during budget time and object to the Chamber of Commerce even showing up. They're a marketing group. They said Fall River was a low-crime area and it had a pristine waterfront. They lie. They manipulate figures, and they distort fact to support their narrative. Numbers don't lie. Fall River is larger than Newton. Why do they have 13,000 versus 5,000 businesses? Income. Cambridge is a little larger. By the way, New Bedford's only got 5,000 and plus, a little over 5,000 businesses too. So there we have two cities of relatively the same size compared to the two most affluent cities in the state.
With similar income levels.
And the Fall River, New Bedford with similar income levels, Newton and Cambridge with similar income levels. So what is the drastic difference? The income level. And why are the businesses, there's such a disparity? 13,000 to 5,000. Money. These people can BS you all you want. They can sling it, and they can come up with any kind of excuse they want. This is fundamental economics. You're only going to get the crap businesses coming to Fall River. Any business that's got a good product and wants to sell that product is going to look for the best place they can sell the product.
That's right.
That's it. Cut out all the BS. Cut out all this narrative and minutia they kind of pile on. Oh, we got to give the business climate. There's no business climate because you can't have a business. Pizza joints, Chinese restaurants, and that's about it. Portuguese restaurants. We can't support anything. Why? Because, and what do? We've watched this government over the past 15 years, 20 years, inflate to the point where it's going to explode. Does anybody remember when Fall River had almost 100,000 people? Well, guess what? When we had 100,000 people, or close to 100,000 people, we had no city administrator. We had no chief financial officer. We had far more people. All our departments were larger and had more personnel. Yet we had none of this fat. We had no neighborhood liaisons. We had no what was Monica's title? Like
Special assistant.
Yeah, well, we can look. Just make something up, okay? Special assistant in charge of fixing the snowflower swatter.
You need that person.
80,000 plus benefits. Done. City council. Done. Hetzler. Done. Taxpayer. Not done. Screw the taxpayer. So we got these tax increases, and the city council doesn't have a care in the world about the people of Fall. Let's look at the people of Fall River. One of the lowest, if not the lowest, we were the lowest. I haven't had a chance to make sure. I don't like to misquote. I have to go back and check the Lawrences and the Lowells and make sure that we are the actual lowest in the state still. But we're at the bottom. The city with one of the lowest per capita, if not the lowest, and the lowest household income in the state, less than half the state average, less than half the national average. And they're doing this to the taxes. They're doing this to you and me. Do they care about the 60% of the municipal employees who are living on pensions of $25,000 or less that are going to lose their homes? Do they care about the people that are already working 2 jobs to afford a home? No. Then they'll tell you we got a low tax rate. Again, a distortion of fact. Yeah, the number itself is lower than some of the other numbers, but take that number and make a ratio in proportion to the income of the people paying those taxes. We're going to have the highest in the state, if not, or one of the highest in the state, because guess what? If you only got $2, a $5 hamburger, that's a price you can't afford. Is a $5 hamburger expensive today? Nah. There's a lot of $8, $11, $12 hamburgers. People in Fall River can't afford a $12 hamburger. They got to go to McDonald's and get the 99-cent burger. So when I say, hey, this $9 hamburger is really cheap, It all depends on the perspective and the eye of the beholder. Does your council realize where this city is economically? Who the people are who are paying these taxes? Not the people in the North End where almost all of you live. And all of you have very good incomes, and you can pay your taxes with your 16 grand you get for being a counselor. No, you don't give a damn. So I don't give a damn saying that I don't give a damn about what you're going to do. And I'm going to work my butt off for the next 2 years to try to get some people in here who care about the taxpayers of the city of Fall River. Because obviously you don't care. Either you're so dumb you're oblivious to the city you live in, or you just don't care. Or maybe a little bit of both. Your turn, CJ.
Oh, God, I was never going to get a turn. I got people sending me text messages asking, where is Faust Fiore? I think he's in CDA, because remember, we haven't heard anything about Faust for a long time. And, that's very interesting, because that was one of Jazel's, friends. So he's now lost in the ether with that.
Yeah. Well, that's I think we talked about it a little bit on the show. That's what their MO is. They give them a political job, but then when they're getting ready to leave office, they shuffle them off into a city department where they disappear into the woodwork and just become another city employee.
That's it.
So he's somewhere.
More fat to the party.
Where is he? And you're right. And talk a little bit about the fat in city budget. Come on, see, you got some great examples.
Oh, you start looking at what's going on with, a chief of staff. Come on, what do we need? What does the mayor need a chief of staff for? To handle emails? To handle constituents' problems? The mayor can handle that. The secretary can take the message, and if it's important, send it out to the mayor or send it to the department head. That's the way it's supposed to be. You don't need a third person who's making $80,000 a year. Okay, so there's some fat right there. How about the fact that we are the highest in taxes when you consider the fact that we pay a rainwater tax? So they lie when they say, oh, but our taxes are only $14.45 per thousand, and Brockton's $15.50. Yeah, but look, Brockton doesn't have a rainwater tax, and Brockton has the T. They have police, they have fire, they have schools, which aren't failing.
True. And how about the CFO? We have a CFO in the school department, which is ridiculous.
Who also serves on the Housing Authority Board, where she also collects a pay that they just gave themselves a raise. And she voted no.
And we have, yeah, of course. Well, we all know how those no votes go.
That's right.
The two people who would be in direct conflict because one's a union guy and one's and is supposed to be looking out for the workers, which they never did, because they did vote for the workers in the Housing Authority to pay 33% of a bill that they were only responsible for about 2% of, but. That was, they sit in a room beforehand and they go, okay, all you guys vote for our pay raise. We're going to have to vote against it for the cameras to look good. And it'll look good, but it'll go through and we'll grudgingly take it. Did they are they going to forego the pay raise? That's my question. But CFO, they got a CFO in the school department. We got a CFO on the city side. What do we need a CFO for? Don't we have a treasurer?
Yeah.
Don't we have an auditor? Don't we have a whole bunch of people who are already in charge of looking over the finances of the city? Don't we? What was Ray Reynolds' title?
I don't remember.
Was he the auditor or the treasurer? I forgot already, because we had them both on the... Well, we have a city auditor, we have a city treasurer, and now we got a CFO, chief financial officer. What do we need? We didn't have a chief financial officer when we had more population, more everything. So you know what that means? More money for their friends.
Right. And Mary Sahadi's $120,000 plus a $40,000 stipend or something.
And that CFO is supposed to be a full-time CFO, but she's got part-time jobs in Seekonk and Swansea.
And she lists herself as Hagen Sahadi.
And she also has a company.
Right.
Which I believe by her contract she's not supposed to.
Right.
Isn't she not supposed to have any other jobs if she's the CFO?
I believe so.
I believe that's correct also. And I believe someone who is very good at filing complaints has filed a complaint about that.
Complaints are being filed, I'll tell you now.
And she gives donations to city councilors, which to me is kind of, is that a bribe?
That's the way to make sure you pay and your stipends
But
get popped up.
I think when she made those donations, she didn't list herself as a city employee.
No, she did not. She listed herself as HNS. I wonder if that stands for Hagen Sahadi.
Probably. So I guess if she listed herself as the CFO for the city of Fall River, maybe the OCPF might have questioned her, huh?
You never know.
Huh? I think they might have, because they said, well, you're the CFO, you're going in front of there with money orders, with things about finances, and you're giving city councilors money? That may or may not be appropriate. But I believe, and I have to pass a test on that periodically, I believe that they tell you that even the perception of impropriety should prevent someone who's worried about conflicts of interest.
Exactly.
I believe that's in the law.
Now here's the real kicker. If you listened at all to local media yesterday, which obviously you didn't because I called you about it and you were stunned. People were actually saying it's time to lay city employees off. They wanted police and fire up for so long, and now they're willing to cut police and fire. They're willing to lay people off.
Well,
because they cannot pay their taxes.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I start looking at retirees, not only city retirees, but retirees in general,
yeah.
which own their property, which own their houses that they no longer have a mortgage on, so they don't have the bank making sure the taxes are paid, they've got to come up with that $4,000 a year. Okay, they've got to come up with $1,000 here and $1,000 there. Hey, $1,000 is a lot of money when you're only making $25,000 a year, if that. If that. So they're going to have to sell their house, and that's why you have the real estate agents going around trying to buy your house. They started this last year. They're trying to buy your house, and they're trying to buy them on the cheap. They offered me $200,000 for my house, and my house is valued a lot more than that. Okay? And they said, it'll be a cash deal, tomorrow we'll close. I said, and then what are you going to do with it? Oh, we're going to fix it up a little bit, and then we're going to sell it. So you're going to flip it, and you'll flip it for what the house is worth, if not more. So I don't want to hear it.
Well, you know, therein lies the rub, so to speak. You know, there's no sensitivity for the people, the average people in Fall River. Apparently nobody in government understands that this city is probably the lowest in the state for income, and these people, and we also have one of the highest, if not the highest, but we're always at the top in some category, and it's not a negative category, it's just, this one is not we have one of the highest elderly populations in the state.
Right.
Per capita. I mean, you know, if you look at our population versus elderly, we have one of the highest percentages in the state. Those people are all on fixed incomes. Some of them are well into their 80s and 90s. And some of them, whether they're municipal employees or private sector employees, they're not getting huge raises from Social Security.
No,
they went years without getting it. And the thing is, there's no consideration for these people. And that's what disturbs me. That's why these people, you know, and I don't agree with laying off police and fire unless it's an absolute necessity, because I feel the priorities of this city are public safety and education. But that doesn't mean CFOs in the school department, CFOs on the city side. But that's one of the problems that's endemic with the cities and systemic with politics.
And when you consider...
when they begin laying off, they always lay off fire and police first to get the public in a panic that they're going to die. But then that brings us back to what we have to impress with CAG and good candidates for the next 2 years. That does not have to happen. We do not have to lose fire and police. If we have a city council, and hopefully a mayor, who will begin the layoffs with unnecessary positions.
At the top. At the top,
Yeah.
not at the bottom.
Cut the fat, not saw the bones.
Right. Now, what was the old saying? If you want a good job, a good job which is stable, you go to New Bedford. If you want a high-paying, do-nothing job, you go to Fall River.
That's right.
Remember that?
I think I still may have that newspaper in the attic. It was a Sunday New Bedford Standard Times, and it said, if you work for the city, work in New Bedford. If you're an administrator, work in Fall River.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Because we are so heavy with management. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I respect the fire department, but even in the fire department, we have a lot more management than we need. And you know that. We have a lot more management than we need.
Well,
we have a lot more management.
I don't know what the table of organization is now, but I know there's always areas. They're not, fire department is not quite as management, because the reality is 95% of the fire department is in fire suppression, fighting fires. They're running trucks. The Fire Prevention Bureau is in at large. There's administratively, there's not a lot of inside jobs in the fire department. Not like the police, where they got a lot of inside positions. They're not, but I mean, look, if you look, there's positions everywhere. But the reality is, my position is, start cutting positions that never existed. When we had more people, when we had larger departments. Carlton Viveris ran this city when I got on a job, and we had a 300-man fire department. 300-man fire department.
And we weren't raising taxes like we are now.
That's right. We went years. They raised it every 3 or 4 years, maybe, and very little. 300-man fire department, 300-man police department, or nearly 300. We fluctuated up and down a little bit, but when I got on, matter of fact, the first time I ran for president of the union in '81, when I was elected, Carlton was the mayor, and I believe we had around 300 men that cast a ballot. 298, 300 men. That was our compliment. Carlton Viveris was running this city with 2 secretaries. No city administrator, no chief financial officer, no chief of staff, no anything. With larger departments. Department heads ran their departments, and they were larger. Now we have smaller departments. You're going to tell me that we can't run this city by having 6-figure department heads run their department? So what's left to run? Answer me that question, CJ. What is left to run in the city if every department head is running their department? What are you going to do as the mayor? You need all this stuff. This is all fat. All fat. And
well, I don't know. I think we definitely have to keep the dean of students. We have to keep that position.
We'll be, look, the thing is, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And the only people that can stop this, they will lay off fire and police unless we get people in the city council, and hopefully as a mayor, who will say, I'm going to cut all the fat before I touch education. I mean real education, not CFOs and hall monitors. I'm talking about keeping teachers on a job, keeping fire and police on a job, and only touch them as a last resort, because that's our obligation as a city. But cut all the damn fat, and remember, if you want to run and you want to do it, the only way we can stop this madness is get a giant broom and push them out the back door.
And remember, demand a 1.75 tax factor, because it's ridiculous. This is why your taxes are up. This is what's going on. Hey, have a great day and stay angry, because I know I am.
Yeah, especially when you looked at your tax bill.
Especially.